Hello guys, so today we are going to discuss about IAM policies. So in this diagram you can see we have a group of people, Alice, Bob and Charles. They are in development team, so they are basically developers. So suppose if we want to give access to the AWS resources which are required by developers only, then we will assign an IAM policies to this developer group. Okay, and that IAM policy will define the access of this group, and thus each and every individual which are in this group to access and use the AWS resources for their development purpose. So IAM policies are nothing but JSON document, okay, which we will see in just a few minutes. Okay, but first let's discuss here the theoretical part. So suppose we want to give access to EC2 and RTS instance and these two. So we will define these two in the JSON document and assign the policy to this developer group, and thus all the three, Alice, Bob, and Charles, can access these. Okay. Now suppose we have same likewise we have operations team to which we want to give deployment access. So like CI/CD pipeline access and elastic beanstalk access. Okay, so we will create a IAM policy for that and assign to this group, and these two, David and Edward, will be able to access those resources as defined in the policy. Okay, the JSON document. Suppose we have a requirement in which some people like Charles and David needs to be a part of, like Charles needs to be a part of developers also. Part means he needs to have access which developers are also having access, and he needs to have access which audit team also wants access. Okay, so we will create a separate group, and we will assign a policy for audit team, and then Charles will have the privilege to access the resources which are defined in the IAM policy of developers, as well as which are defined in the IAM policies of audit time. Okay, so this is the one. Likewise, David is also in audit team and David is also in operations team. So he will be able to access resources in operation teams as well as access resources in audit team. Okay, and now these were all about groups. Now suppose we have a requirement that we want to give access to a particular individual or an employee to some AWS resources, then in that case, we will assign an inline policy, which are only defined for that particular employee or resource. Okay. So in this case, it is Fred. So let's see how those IAM policy basically look like there, what are element of this and what are the significance of each element. Okay. So let's proceed. Okay. So IAM policies are nothing but they are just JSON-like document which contains the data, which resource or which role is going to access which AWS resource and how much permission it has on that resource. Okay, it can either have allow permission or it can either have uh, deny permission. Okay, so let's discuss the element of this IAM policy one by one. So this is version. Version is just it is telling version and it is the version when it came. ID is also like metadata kind of thing. Statement. So in a particular statement, we can have the details like which account is going to have uh, permission on which resource or can access or not access which resource, and what are the actions that account can perform on that resource. Okay, so let's see that. So as you can see here, it's written what it consists of. Policy language always include this. So this is not that much relevant. This is an identifier. Basically, every policy has a ID, so it is optional. Statement. One or more individual statements. One statement contains like this. Like this is the root account which can access S3 bucket, which is named as my bucket, and it has permission of getting an object and put updating an object. Okay. Now statement consists of SID. Again, it's an identifier for the statement, which is optional. Effect, whether the statement allows or denies access. Okay. So in this case, you see effect is allowed. So effect is allowed means this root account will be able to access this bucket and it has permission of get object and put object. Principal, account, user, role to which this policy applied to, which we already discussed. Action, list of actions this policies allows or denies. Okay, so this is the permission. In this case, it is allowed. So get object, put object, it is allowed. Resource, list of resources to which this action applied to. So resources, see, this is my bucket. So here is it, my bucket. Condition, it is like for which condition this policy is in effect. This is also optional. So this we will not discuss here. Okay, that's it. This is all about IAM policies. So let's meet in the next video.